Everyone, meet Kyle. Kyle just received a digital notification on his smartphone informing him that his latest paycheck has officially been deposited. The numbers he sees hit him with such a shock that he nearly fumbles his device, almost dropping his expensive phone directly into his hot morning coffee. He looks intensely at the staggering difference between his gross pay and his net pay. The gap between what he earned and what he actually gets to keep is massive. Kyle feels like he was just robbed in broad daylight, but with a friendly smile and a very official, red government stamp of approval. In his frustration, Kyle tells himself that the rich simply have access to better accountants. He thinks that is the only thing standing between him and true wealth. He begins to imagine hidden rooms, filled with massive steel safes and secret corridors, where the elite hide their fortunes away from the public eye. Kyle envisions offshore islands in the middle of the ocean, where pirates wearing designer suits hide their overflowing chests of gold. Kyle, my friend, it is time to take off those rose-colored glasses. The reality of the situation is much more cynical and, at the very same time, much more brilliant than you think. While you are busy counting every single penny just to give the state its share, the wealthiest people on Earth are playing a game where the rules do not even exist for them, simply because they wrote those rules themselves. Today we are going to break down exactly how a system works, where profit is nothing more than a number on a piece of paper, and where taxes have essentially become a tax on being poor. The absolute primary mistake that Kyle is making right now is the simple fact that he works for money. That might sound completely absurd to most people, but let us take a much closer look at why this is such a critical error. Income tax is the single most effective tool used to keep you trapped in the middle class forever. It is a simple, linear trap. If you manage to earn more, the system simply ensures that you pay more. Now, let us take a look at a typical billionaire. His official annual salary might be exactly $1 a year. It sounds like a total joke, but there is a very deep reason behind this. Even with a salary of only $1, his wealth continues to grow by billions of dollars through his ownership of stocks. Here is the primary trick. An increase in stock value is not legally considered income until the very moment you decide to sell it. If Kyle wants to buy a brand new car, he has to take money from his own bank account, a place where taxes have already taken a huge bite out of every single dollar he earned. If a wealthy individual wants to purchase a massive yacht, he absolutely does not sell his shares to get the cash. This is because selling those shares would immediately trigger a massive tax bill, and he has a much better plan. This strategy is known among the elite as the holy grail of financial forensics. It is a three-step process called buy, borrow, and die. It allows them to avoid the system entirely. Instead of selling assets and paying 20 or even 37% in taxes, the wealthy go to a bank. They simply say, I have $100 billion in stocks. Give me a $10 million loan at only 2% interest. For the bank, this is the safest deal in the entire world because it is backed by billions. But for the rich person, it is pure magic. Loaned money is not considered income by law, meaning it cannot be taxed. You can spend millions on private jets, lavish parties, and prime real estate, while technically remaining a poor person in the eyes of the tax office. You live on debt, which costs pennies compared to the rate at which your assets grow. Kyle is struggling to balance his checkbook, while they have simply replaced taxes with low-interest loans. Kyle sees a headline in the news announcing that another billionaire is giving away 90% of his massive fortune to charity. Kyle is visibly touched by this, thinking that this must be a truly saintly person. But wait just a second, Kyle. Most of this money actually goes into private foundations that are run directly by the billionaire himself or by his own children. This is a genius financial scheme. You transfer your stocks to your own foundation, and, in exchange, you receive a massive tax deduction on all your other income. At the same time, you maintain full control over these assets. The money is technically no longer yours, but you decide where it goes, what events to spend it on, and which nephew will work there for a six-figure salary. This is not simple generosity. It is the privatization of tax benefits. Kyle pays taxes so the state can build roads, while the wealthy build foundations so they do not have to pay the state at all. Now, here is another trick that is absolutely going to blow Kyle's mind. It is a concept known as depreciation. It sounds like a boring accounting term, but it is actually a powerful weapon. Imagine a wealthy person buys a massive office building for exactly $100 million. This building brings in a net profit of $10 million every single year. Kyle naturally thinks the owner has to pay tax on those $10 million. But no. The owner tells the tax office that the building is getting old and is suffering from constant wear and tear. He writes off millions of dollars in depreciation every year, even though in the real world, the actual market price of that building is only going up. As a direct result, on paper he technically has a loss and therefore pays zero tax. Moreover, he can even use this paper loss to offset real profits from his other businesses. The unfairness is striking. Kyle has to pay for his old, depreciating car out of his already taxed income, while the wealthy are actually making money on the bizarre legal fact that their real estate is supposedly aging and losing value. Kyle does what he was taught to do. He keeps his hard-earned money in a standard savings account or tucked away safely under his mattress, hoping it will be enough for the future. Meanwhile, the wealthy build sophisticated financial fortresses called family offices. These are highly private investment firms, designed specifically to manage the immense wealth of a single family. A different set of rules applies here entirely. They create incredibly complex trust structures where money is moved from one pocket to another so incredibly fast that the tax office simply loses the trail. Kyle asks why he cannot do the same thing. The answer is painfully simple. The entry ticket to this exclusive world costs more than Kyle's entire apartment is worth. This is a private club where the password is a massive 9-figure sum. We are going to show Kyle exactly how these complex structures allow immense wealth to be passed down through multiple generations without the family ever paying a single cent in inheritance tax. Kyle has always thought that offshore accounts were something reserved only for intense spy movies. In reality, however, it is actually just a form of incredibly boring accounting. Imagine Kyle's main company, located in Ukraine or perhaps the United States, making a total profit of $1 million this year. Instead of paying tax here, Kyle decides to do something much more clever. Kyle creates a shell company in Bermuda that owns the official logo of his main firm. Then, the Bermuda company sends an invoice to the main firm for exactly $1 million for the right to use that brand. The result? The main firm now has zero profit and pays zero taxes, while the full $1 million sits safely in Bermuda, where the tax rate is also zero. This is a legal transfer of money across borders. The tax office sees empty safes, while Kyle in Bermuda drinks fresh coconut juice. Naturally, Kyle asks a very logical question. Why don't all of us just do exactly what the wealthy do? The cold, hard truth is that the entire financial system was built specifically for those who possess capital, and not for those who simply earn a monthly salary. As long as you continue to sell your precious time for a paycheck, you are effectively the main sponsor of the state. Your labor is the primary resource that keeps the government running while the elite remain untouched. But at this very moment, Kyle begins to truly understand the fundamental transformation he needs to undergo. His new path is the critical transition from merely earning money to actually owning assets. The wealthy are able to avoid the crushing weight of taxes precisely because they own assets that possess the magical ability to grow all by themselves, without the need for manual labor. Kyle finally sees the light. He realizes that instead of begging for a small raise and paying even more in taxes, he needs to buy shares in businesses, stocks, and real estate. This is the only way to exit a game where he is currently always losing. Naturally, Kyle asks himself, where is the justice in all of this? The answer, unfortunately, is quite harsh. Justice in the world of finance is often a concept reserved for those who simply do not read the fine print in the law. The tax code is far more than just a list of what you owe to the government. If you look closely through a magnifying glass, you will see it is actually a complex roadmap of incentives. This roadmap is specifically designed for those who create jobs or invest heavily in the economy. The wealthy do not break the rules. They simply use every single one of them to the absolute fullest. While Kyle waits for help from the state, the wealthy have effectively become a state within a state. They do not avoid taxes because they are greedy. They do it because the system actively encourages owning assets over manual labor. Kyle finally realizes that to stop being a victim, he must change his entire role in this game. He must stop playing as a debtor and start playing as an owner. Take a look at Kyle now. He no longer looks at his monthly paycheck with a sense of deep despair or hopelessness. Instead, he has started thinking exactly like a seasoned investor who sees the bigger picture. When he finds himself with his first free $100, he does not rush straight to the mall to buy a brand new pair of sneakers. Instead, he takes that money and buys a small piece of a diversified investment fund. He now fully understands that taxes are merely the high price of entry into the system, but the real and only exit strategy lies through the accumulation of capital. This has been your Financial Detox. Our goal is not to teach you how to break the law, but rather to teach you how to truly understand how the world actually works. The rich get richer simply because they know the rules of the game. Now you know these rules too. Kyle has already started his own journey toward wealth. What about you? Subscribe if you want to know how money really works and not just the version they told you in school.